Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 video for the ending. There are a whole bunch of WTF moments, Easter eggs, obviously setting up what's going to be happening in the actual finale next week. They finally started answering some of the really big questions we've had this entire series since Season 1, like what really is the Upside Down, what's really going on with Vecna, and answering some questions that tie into the stage play, which a lot of people have not had the opportunity to see. There are definitely a couple big questions that they're leaving for the finale to actually answer, like what is the Mind Flayer's role in all this really? I think they will ultimately wind up confirming that the Mind Flayer has been gaslighting Henry Creel, Vecna, this whole time, based on some of the reveals that we get when we learn what happened to young Henry Creel in the tunnels with the mystery scientist in the mystery briefcase who tried to kill him, thinking that he was somebody dangerous coming after him. We will talk all about that because I do think that they give us enough clues to know what's actually going on, like what's actually in that briefcase. We're going full Pulp Fiction here with the crazy briefcase. What is in the briefcase? We also got a lot more answers about Dimension X from the stage play, which they're calling The Abyss on the TV show. So if that wasn't clear, The Abyss that they reference on the TV show is the same place that they call Dimension X in the stage play, where young Henry Creel got stuck for 12 hours mysteriously inside the caves after he got lost inside the caves and then got sent back to the regular dimension. And when you actually look at the outside of it, does that not look just like Jim Henson's Dark Crystal Palace? That's right out of the Dark Crystal. There's also a lot of talk in that movie about merging things, merging races, and that's basically what they're doing on the show, confirming the theory that Vecna, or really Mind Flayer really, who might be pulling the strings on all this, but really Vecna, as far as they're telling you during this block of episodes, is trying to merge Dimension X, or the Abyss, with the normal dimension in Earth. One of the other strongest pieces of evidence that the Mind Flayer is responsible for all this, like it's his grand design and he's just finger puppeting Vecna, is what does this fortress look like in Mind Flayer's original dimension? It just looks like a hand, like an upside down Mind Flayer. This is a very call is coming from inside the room kind of situation, like where is the Mind Flayer in all this? Well, you're actually inside him right now. Probably one of the other biggest questions, too, when you look at what's going on inside that goo palace is how much is he pumping into those little kids? Like, are we going to have to call Chris Hansen and put him on the team that's going to save all those little kids? But a couple of the biggest confirmations that we get is that Eleven, when she pushed Henry Creel before the events of Season 1 into another place, she was pushing him into the Abyss, this other dimension, Dimension X. This is the place where the Mind Flayer exists, which is what we are seeing at the end of Season 4 in that scene where he's looking at it and he starts messing with it with his powers. This is meant to be the same place he was transported when he was a little kid down inside those tunnels. We only get a little bit of those scenes, like they're leaving some of that to reveal in the finale. But the idea in the finale is that we will see young Henry Creel actually being transported to Dimension X and meeting the Mind Flayer for the first time, or to the Abyss. My early theory, just based on the evidence, is when Max and Holly actually find him and watch this go down, like the young Henry Creel in his scout uniform is trying to save himself from the scientist who's trying to kill him. The reason why the scientist is trying to kill him, like a young little boy here, is probably because the scientist was on the team that was trying to contact another dimension. They did it successfully, but then they found the Mind Flayer, and the Mind Flayer used its abilities to take control of the minds of the people on his scientist team, and they started killing each other. Things started going crazy off the rails. Then the scientist probably tried to escape, and when young Henry Creel came along, he just thought that young Henry Creel was also another person that the Mind Flayer was puppeting, and the Mind Flayer was really coming for him. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense why an adult scientist would try to kill a young child in a scout uniform. And for the big answer about what's inside the mystery briefcase is probably something connected to the exotic matter, which is the key to actually maintaining the bridge. So this is like a big MacGuffin heading into the finale, is they need to collapse the bridge by destroying the exotic matter, but it's probably going to be way harder to do than they think. Like the bomb that they think is going to blow it up probably won't work. It'll probably be something that was inside that briefcase.
Is that what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
To answer the next big question, the reason why Brenner created the exotic matter in the first place, this is all because of what happened with Henry, his powers, and stuff that was revealed during the stage play that most people probably have not had a chance to see. You have to remember that young Henry Creel fell inside the tunnel, and it was in Nevada. His family was living in Nevada, but Nevada is also where a young Brenner's program was. We saw 11 inside that special lab that they had in Nevada during Season 4. The whole reason why Brenner was there is because he was running an experiment to contact another dimension. The reason why Brenner cared about finding other dimensions is because when he was younger, his parents were supposedly lost into another dimension, maybe Dimension X, maybe the Abyss. So part of the idea is that when young Henry Creel disappears into the abyss, this other dimension, and contacts the Mind Flayer works its mojo on him and starts gaslighting him. We'll get to that in a second too, because there's a lot of clues about what the Mind Flayer did to Henry Creel. You have to remember that young Henry Creel here in his scout uniform before he went to Dimension X, the Abyss, did not have powers. It's heavily implied that the Mind Flayer gave him powers. What happened is that when he eventually made it back 12 hours later and had powers and he had different colored eyes, that's when a young Brenner found him and started his program to create 12 more kids because, notice now, Vecna in present day has 12 kids that he stole to power the bridge to actually bring the worlds together. This confirms the reason why Brenner's program was trying to create 12 more kids so that he could do his own version of what Vecna is doing in this last episode, bring the worlds together. Brenner was trying to do a version of that, and now Dr. K, Linda Hamilton's character, is trying to recreate that and continue doing the same thing. They also confirmed this is why she was using Kali's blood to try and do the same thing that Brenner was doing with Vecna's blood. They imply, though, the reason why Kali's blood doesn't work, it just makes the candidates sick and their babies sick, is just because genetically she isn't as close to Vecna as 11 is. There have also been a lot of theories for a long time that Vecna is secretly the actual biological father of 11, and that's why she's so much more special, so much more powerful than Kali and the other candidates in their program. And why Dr. K, Linda Hamilton's character, wants her so badly, because she can do the same thing with her blood that originally Brenner did with Vecna's blood. You can let me know if you agree with that principle. Like, is that the reason why 11 is so much more powerful? Because she's the actual biological child of Vecna, and Vecna just didn't know that. Like, Brenner was just taking all kinds of samples from him and took some of his DNA and used it to artificially inseminate 11's mother. Brenner was definitely a shady dude. I would not put him above it to do something like that. There are many Dungeons & Dragons references when they're talking about what's happening with the Abyss, Dimension X. The reason why they call it the Abyss is because that's a Dungeons & Dragons trope, a realm of pure chaos and evil inside the world of Dungeons & Dragons. But this is how the timeline works close to the events of Season 1. So a young 11 pushes Henry Creel to Dimension X and traps him there. He would have never been able to make it back. If we're talking about the Abyss, you can call it Dimension X or the Abyss. Brenner, though, knowing full well that he actually wants to create the bridge and develop this connection between dimensions and merge them together, wants 11 to find Henry Creel, which creates the bridge itself, which is what creates the Upside Down. And during the episodes, we actually get a full exterior look at what it looks on a macro scale. Both dimensions connected by a giant fleshy tube, which is the flesh wall, basically.
Monsters have been using it to cross right back into Hawkins.
As we all predicted, they saved Max actually coming out of her coma, so to speak. It wasn't really a coma, it was more like being trapped inside Vecna's mind space by the actual last episode of Volume 2. Probably the bigger reveal here is that she could have escaped much earlier had she realized that she didn't need music in the first place. They make a whole bunch of Kate Bush jokes too, like Holly learns about the Kate Bush and she's like, I have no idea who that is, that means nothing to me. Max never needed the music to metaphorically and literally run up that hill back into her body. This whole time, it was all about her connection with Lucas specifically. It was never about the music. This is also why Holly is able to open a portal right next to Max. Like, she doesn't need to go to some special place like Max feels like she needs to go to open the portal. Holly is the one that helps her realize that she never needed the music in the first place. So I did love the twist that the flesh wall itself wasn't keeping stuff inside, it was actually protecting the bridge itself, from everything outside, basically the vacuum of nothingness between dimensions. There are a couple moments in the episodes where you see stuff like floating out in the abyss. They also confirmed the theory that the reason why Vecna needs the 12 kids is because he's actually siphoning off using their psychic power to boost his own, and he's using that power to merge both dimensions through the bridge. Also the same reason why in the past Brenner created the program to make 12 kids with the same levels of powers so that he could use their power to merge dimensions. Theoretically, though, I think the Mind Flayer might still wind up being the ultimate main villain here, because if you think about it this way, when Holly was able to break free and when the Demogorgons die, notice that the black smoke comes out of their mouths. We haven't really seen that a lot before, but where have you seen it? You saw it in the Mind Flayer itself. It literally is the black smoke. To make more Lost TV show references, the black smoke monster. Do you not now wonder if there's black smoke inside Henry, and if when he got lost inside Dimension X as the young Boy Scout here, like he finds this briefcase, gets lost in Dimension X for 12 hours, then mysteriously comes back to the normal dimension with powers and under the control of the Mind Flayer? Probably because the Mind Flayer filled him with his black smoke, and that's how he got powers. Pretty much anybody that has any powers on the show comes ultimately from Vecna first because of his blood, like that's how 11 got powers and all the other candidates got powers, and it seems like Henry Creel originally got his powers from the Mind Flayer. So if we're making the Star Wars references, because they do make some Return of the Jedi references during this to like the Death Star, but if you're thinking about Star Wars references, the Emperor and Darth Vader, Vecna would be the Darth Vader character, making the Mind Flayer more like the Emperor who's trying to pull the strings. This is also one of the reasons why I think they left a lot of Mind Flayer reveals for the actual finale, like what's in the briefcase, what actually happened when young Henry Creel was sucked to Dimension X. Like they didn't show us the rest of what happened to young Henry Creel in his Boy Scout uniform in this memory here, probably because they're saving it for the finale. Probably one of the other biggest WTF moments of the ending here is Kali trying to sell 11 on the plan to sacrifice themselves by staying in the Upside Down when they blow up or destroy the exotic matter, collapsing the bridge, which would basically strand them in the empty vacuum between dimensions, basically killing them because there'd be no atmosphere. So Kali is basically trying to convince 11 to both kill themselves as a way to prevent anyone on Earth from trying to use their blood again to try and replicate the experiment, creating 12 more candidates to merge other dimensions again. One of the other keys to defeating him is also seemingly Will using his connection to Vecna, like to make the Harry Potter Horcrux references. Sorcerer Will having a mind space therapy battle session, the way he talks about it when he's coming out to the group is that in order to fight Vecna effectively, he has to confront his own demons and come out with his deepest, darkest secrets, which is basically coming out to the group and admitting to Mike that he has had a crush on him this whole time, like he's liked him this whole time, but doing it in front of everyone.
Max, she told me he's also afraid.
Vecna had tried to use that against him by isolating him from his friends to make him weaker, easier to control. So because earlier in the episodes they made this big deal about saying how there's still ultimately a little boy, Henry Creel, inside Vecna, that Will's whole arc has been trying to be true to himself and confronting his inner demons and being honest with his friends. Does this mean that Will also defeat Vecna using their connection, using a mind space therapy session? Helping the young traumatized Henry Creel here overcome his metaphorical and literal demons in the Mind Flayer. And also, if you've seen the stage play, a lot of that story is him trying to just be a normal boy inside Hawkins in high school. All the really crazy stuff that happens to him is he's trying to reconcile his powers, like figure out his powers, and also just be a normal boy in love with a girl. If you did not see the stage play, there were some references to it during Volume 1, but the short answer is that young Henry Creel had a very, very traumatic, very messed up life before he went full Vecna. It just seems like a big part of them taking Vecna down, like stopping him from merging dimensions, will be Will helping him overcome his own demons. We're going to defeat the villain with a lot of hugs. There's also the idea that Vecna is convinced that Dimension X, the Abyss, is a better world, but we've seen it. It looks like full dark crystal abyss. He makes a big deal about using children because their minds are easier to control. What if the Mind Flayer also did the same thing to young Henry Creel, gaslighting him, making him believe that Dimension X, the Abyss, where it comes from, is a much better place, and you need to actually do this, bring this plan about so we can merge dimensions so that you can actually live in this amazing place. It would be way easier to sell a child like a young Henry Creel on that than it would be an adult. So I do think there's going to be a couple reveals in the finale that even though they have this grand plan to destroy the exotic matter, to collapse the bridge, to prevent this all from happening and save all the little kids, that they won't be able to accomplish that as easily as they think, that ultimately they'll have to help Vecna confront his own demons and go full Anakin Skywalker Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, and even though they won't be able to redeem him, he's done too many terrible things now to completely redeem the character. We can get a Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine kind of Return of the Jedi ending where Vecna himself helps stop the dimensions from merging. But I do think that Vecna is at like the top of my death predictions list. Like if they're going to have the guts to kill anybody, the Duffers have guts to kill anybody, it'll be Vecna's character. When it actually comes to the Mind Flayer, they've kind of implied this in previous seasons, and people have talked about it piecemeal, but not in like a really, really big way. But the Mind Flayer itself is essentially all that organic life. So I think the idea here is that the dark crystal-looking palace, like the flesh palace where all the kids are in Vecna, that he's using to connect them all, is the actual Mind Flayer itself, but its tendrils run everywhere, like it is huge, and its whole thing is basically absorbing other dimensions the way that it's doing now through Henry Creel and the 12 kids. It's just been doing it for eons and eons. And part of the reason why it's so powerful is because, like we see Vecna using the 12 kids to amplify his own psychic powers, the Mind Flayer does the same thing, just connecting to many other dimensions and many other beings. So basically, the Mind Flayer wants to merge Dimension X, the Abyss, with the normal dimension so that it can grow more powerful, like it just does this all over the multiverse. Probably one of the other biggest questions, though, is how are they going to end Eleven and Kali's story? Because remember, the teaser is that she wants to sacrifice herself, but Eleven's not so sure about this. And I also don't think they're going to have the guts to kill Eleven off. The only way to answer Kali's concerns, like the idea that it'll just be another government person after Dr. K leaves, like there'll always be somebody from the government trying to come and use our blood to create this program again. The only way they're going to be able to break that cycle permanently, to stop the government permanently, is to do something to Linda Hamilton's character to cause her to want to shut the program down forever and prevent anyone else from inside the government from starting it again, meaning that they have to convince Dr. K to help them. You have to remember, killing Dr. K will not stop the program, just like they'll replace her with another person to restart the program. So they have to spare her, but convince her to shut it down herself.
Children, they will open up more gates. More worlds.
Just looking at the way they're foreshadowing all this stuff, like they want you to be worried about all the different characters dying, like Dustin and Steve. If you die, I die. Big callback to season 3. Personally, I think it's all red herrings and misdirects, and they do not kill any of the kids. I do not think the Duffers have the guts to kill any of the kids. They really, really want you to think that Hopper is going to die, or wants to die, like he wants to sacrifice himself at least, but that also feels like a misdirect too. Everybody let me know who you think is going to die in the actual finale. Like, which major characters do you think they're going to kill off? I'm not talking about side characters like random military characters. They're like the red shirts of the show. But I love the way they actually end the cliffhanger at the ending of the episode, like the actual ending on the clock itself, the grandfather clock chiming. They made a big deal about that clock during season 4 inside Creel House. Basically, the idea is they end the episode with Vecna taking over the kids' minds and physically starting to actually merge both dimensions, like it's actually in the process now with them like slowly moving towards each other. Is basically meant to signal a countdown theme, like countdown to the finale, countdown to Doomsday, and to make another Marvel comp. Marvel is also using a countdown clock in all of its Avengers Doomsday trailers right now, counting down to Doomsday, but it's the actual release of the Doomsday movie, but in the context of the story, the countdown to the doom of the MCU. This whole thing in Stranger Things about merging dimensions is kind of what's going on inside the MCU right now. Only the idea in Avengers Doomsday in Secret Wars is that it will lead to the destruction of both universes, or one of them. Note to self, incursions, merging dimensions equals bad. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. If you have any questions or Easter eggs you spotted that I didn't talk about during this video that you want me to talk about during my full breakdown video for all the episodes, just let me know in the comments. I'll do a full breakdown of all the Easter eggs and references and things happening in each of the episodes 5, 6, and 7, and that'll post next, so look out for that. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. My full episode 8 video will post on New Year's right after they release the episode, so look out for that. Maybe they'll release a trailer for that sooner as well, so I might do a video for that as well. There are probably also going to be some surprise trailers and other things from other places, so I'll try to do videos for as much stuff as possible since it is the holidays. Everybody click here for my next Stranger Things video, and click here for my Volume 1 episode video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.